Welcome to Policy on Demand. I'm Puneet Arora. I'm delighted to be joined by two of my partners, Jonathan Silver and Jamison Sites, on this episode to discuss digital assets. So why don't we get started? Jamison, let me start with you. There has been a lot that has gone on in our industry in the last year, and there's a lot of talk about guidance that is forthcoming. What are some of the areas that you expect to see guidance soon?
Industry updates over the past couple of years have caught the attention of the regulators globally, not just in the United States. Last year we saw the infrastructure bill come out, and it provided us in the United States with the definition of digital assets, as well as clarity around broker and information reporting for digital asset activities. So I think the global regulator and legislative environment is shifting its attention, and we're going to finally get some clarity that the industry's wanted for a number of years. Principally, I think it's going to come around that information reporting, that investor reporting obligations. We have regulations in the United States pending at the White House with review. I think many hope that may come out some point this year. So we'll see how those provide additional clarity. And again, we need this clarity before we get additional adoption or really proceed further in the industry.
Thanks, Jamison. So, Jonathan, these are obviously top of mind and are being discussed. What are other areas where there's complexity, where it would be good to have guidance, maybe not as urgent on the agenda of the regulators as the ones that Jamison just raised?
Yeah, so Puneet, I think there are a number of issues where there's just kind of a high degree of uncertainty in this space. It's really a very new asset class and fairly different from many traditional asset classes. First, I think there's a lot of uncertainty about kind of method of accounting when taxpayers can mark to market. If they can't mark to market, how they can track basis, how they can track and make sure that they're complying with other rules. I think there can be a lot of uncertainty about sourcing. There can even be uncertainty about whether or not you have a transaction. And some of the biggest debates we're seeing today are just about whether something like consensus layer staking even is a transaction at all. So I think that there's a whole lot of things to be thinking about here and a whole lot of complexity.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's very insightful. Jamison, coming back to you, when you're having conversations with the CFOs, the C-suite, the tax directors, what are the topics that are top of mind for them in this context of a lot of complex areas, and that list is growing with limited guidance, and that's going to come at, these things have to be thoughtful, both in the US and non-US. But what are some of the areas that you are having conversations around?
I think first and foremost, it's about what we're expecting to come out from the regulators is investor reporting and what are the obligations. So getting the systems in place to track cost basis, to track the transactions, because the digital asset ecosystem, right? Most of the assets actually go 18 places to the right of the decimal. So it kind of blows up the traditional software packages that are out there to track these things, and you'll see high volumes of data. It's not complex data, but super high volumes, very detailed. So making sure you have the systems in place to contemporaneously track that, trying to reconcile at the end of the year is just going to be a waste of time. It's going to be really burdensome, complicated, and you're going to miss opportunities. So getting out in front, having systems in place, and then being ready to comply with whatever rules come out from the US or globally, because we also see these from the OECD for information reporting around digital assets as well.
Thank you. Jonathan, what about you?
I think that it's good advice to always just stay very close to your business, make sure you understand what they're doing. Different activity can look very similar, but once you kind of peek under the hood a little bit, you can see that similar looking investments in different tokens can have very different tax consequences. So it's worth just making sure that you have the tax function at the table and that the tax function understands what's going on from early on.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because I think this is another one of those areas where the discussion around what you can do as an institution in terms of data and tracking the data and being able to do the reporting, and the uncertainty within which you'll have to make a determination with respect to the tax implications makes tax so much more important at the time that this investment strategy or implementation of this investment strategy is being put into place by any organization. So, all goes towards the theme that we talk about, the elevated role of tax. And I think this is one key area where you in your prior role have done that. And now as we work with our clients and allow them to be more vigilant and participate in a more proactive way with the businesses. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Jamison, for joining. Hopefully, we'll have you again soon to discuss more about current developments in this dynamic space. And thank you all for joining us on Policy on Demand.